Hi everyone, hope that you're having a great break. Let's translate the first of the Philippics. Sed ne forte, but lest forte, by any chance, oratio, our speech, may, I suppose, while going over the many great achievements of Marcus Antonius, but literally in order that our speech, out of the many great achievements of Mark Antony, does not pass over the finest action, the unam pulcheram, the one most wonderful rem action, veniamus, jussive subjunctive, let us come, jussive subjunctive as we get to veniamus there, let us come to the Lupercalia. The notes are in the Lupercalia next to the passage. He does not, non dissimulat, he does not hide his feelings, conscript fathers, patres conscripti, apparet esse, it is clear that it is evident that he is upset, indirect statement, suadet palet, he is sweating, he is growing pale. Quid libet, let him do, faciat, is that this new philosophy that everyone's talking about at the moment? Let them do it, or something like that. Anyway, let him do whatever, let him do anything he wants, modo ne nauseat, just in order that he is not sick, as long as he is not sick. Let him do anything, quid libet, let him do whatever he wants, modo ne nauseat, if only he would not be sick. Quod, which he did in the portico of Minucius. Quae potest esse, what defence is there able to be? Note the hyperbaton there surrounding the whole enclosed word order. What defence is there possible, can there be, for such shameful behaviour? Sedebat in rostris collegus. Your colleague was sitting in the rostra, clothed in, note all of the colours here, clothed in a purple toga, on a golden, in sella aurea, on a golden chair. Make sure you know who this colleague is. It is, of course, Caesar. Wearing a crown, coronatus, having been garlanded, perfect passive participle. You climbed up the steps. You climbed up Acertus. You went up to his seat. Itar, if you were the priest of Lupercas, you still ought to have remembered, indirect statement here, that you were consulem, accusative infinitive, that you were consul. You offered him, or you showed him, you displayed the crown, diadame ostendis. A whole groan, or a groan rather, sorry, not a whole groan, a groan came up from the whole foro, from the whole forum. Unde diadema, where did you get that crown? Non enim abjectum sustelleras, for you had not picked it up abjectum after it had been lying on the ground, after it had been disregarded or something like that, for you had not picked it up when it had been left behind, lying on the ground, for you had not picked it up thrown away, literally, for you had not picked it up lying around, but you had brought it from home, a calculated and premeditated crime. Tu diadema imponebas. You placed the crown on his head amidst the groans of the people. Tu diadema imponebas. You placed the crown on his head cum plangore, amidst the groaning of the people. Ille cum plausu reiciebat. You placed the crown amid the groans of the people. He rejected it. Ille cum plausu reiciebat. He rejected it amid plausu, amid great applause. Therefore, you, wicked man, were the one man who was found, who could be found. So you, wicked man, were the only person who was found, who when you advised, you were the only man who could be found, who, when you advised the assumption of kingly power, who, when you advised him to take kingly power, you were wanting to have that man for your dominum, for your master. You were the only man who could be found, who, when you advised him to take power, literally the notes there, what do they say? When you were urging him to become king, literally when you were the instigator of kingship, when you were urging him to take power, you were the only man who would be found who was wanting to have that man for your master whom you had as your colleague. You were the only man who could be found who wanted to have that man for your master whom you had as your colleague. Note all the power dynamics that we've talked about endlessly. And also to test temptares, and at the same time to test what the Roman people was able to bear and to suffer. Indirect question there. Furthermore, at Etiam, you even sought his pity. Captabas, you were even seeking his pity. You threw yourself at his feet as a suppliant. Seeking what? That's rhetorical questions. To be a slave? You might be begging for it for yourself. You would only be begging for it, uni, for yourself. You who had lived in such a way from your childhood that you were able to suffer omnia, all things, that you could bear everything, and that you could easily be a slave, that you would have no difficulty being a slave, ut facile, that you could easily, you who had suffered, you had lived in such a way from your childhood that you could suffer anything, that you could easily act as a slave. Certainly, you did not habebas, you did not have any such instruction from us and the Roman people. O praeclarum tuam, oh how splendid, oh that splendid eloquence, oh your such splendid eloquence, cum when you made a speech in the nude. This is all referring to that weird Lupercalia festival that I talked about when he was running around and that the men smacked the women with these leather straps. Quid hoc, what is more shameful ablative of comparison than this? What is more deserving of every sort of punishment? What is more shameful than this? What more criminal? Sorry, I forgot that one. Quid foidius. What is more shameful than this? What is more criminal? What could be more foul than this? What is more shameful than this? More deserving of every sort of punishment. I lost my place. Num expectas. Are you waiting for me to goad you further? Are you waiting for me to spur you on more? This which I am saying, haec te, what I am saying, this haec oratio, this speech will, if you have any sense, if you have any senses, what I am saying, if you have any sense or feeling, this speech will rip you apart, will make you bleed, will lacerat, will cruentat. Vereor, I fear, clause of fearing, I fear that I may be detracting from the glory of some of the most. I fear, lest, clause of fearing, lest I may diminish the glory of some of the most eminent men. However, I will speak on, moved by dolore, moved by anguish. Quid indignius, what is more scandalous than for that man to live who placed a crown on a man's head? What is more scandalous than for eum, that man to live, qui, who placed a crown on his head, when all are admitting that he who rejected it, qui abjecerit, who threw it away, was killed inter fectum esse, we're talking about Julius Caesar obviously here, was killed jure justly. At Etiam, and furthermore, he caused it to be, at Etiam, he ordered it to be recorded in the annals under the title of Lupercalia, that Marcus Antonius, the consul, consulem, by order of the Roman people, had offered the kingdom, indirect statement here, de Tulisse, had offered the kingdom to Julius to Caius Caesar, dictator for life. Furthermore, he ordered it to be recorded in the annals under the head of the Lupercalia that Marcus Antonius, the consul, by command of the Roman people, had offered the kingdom to Caius Caesar, dictator for life, and that Caesar had uti noluisse, had refused to take it. Was it for this, Ideone, that Lucius Tarquinius was driven out, that Spurius Cassius, that Spurius Maelius, and Marcus Manlius were killed, so that after many generations, later, a king would constitueretur, would be established at Rome by Mark Antony, which was an act, literally, which was not right, but which was an act of sacrilege. Okay, well done, everyone.